Barak YAHAWAH, YAHAWASHI, RAWCHAA QADASH. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Really Vocab. Welcome. And pretty much the inspiration for this video came through a video that was sent to me where you see the devil here in the corner. Vocab, No Class Malone, DJ Mark Reiser, wannabe rapper. He starts telling the story of how the reason why he got interested, in the Hebrew Israelite thing was because some camp had set up near his home, and that's, he would pass them every day and so on and so forth, which is total bullshit. He was paid, he's an agent that was paid specifically to deal with the Hebrew Israelites, and I don't know if they groomed him to and gas his head up and told him he could rhyme, so that that could be a part of his shtick, but nevertheless it is what it is. So he starts speaking about the Sakari and how they carry guns and they say Sakari glamorizes guns over God, and then as he's speaking about them, he starts to mention the old GMS Phoenix camp and how they would tote guns to camp and all that and this, that, the other, and how the GMS LA camp cursed them out, and eventually there was a split, and I guess certain men became, went on their own, and others were still part of GMS, as Vocab was telling the story. And I guess one of the guys that was supposed to still be with GMS, eventually, he would be harsh on the streets, cursing people out, blah blah, this, that, the other, and eventually he killed his woman, his children, his friend, and all some whatever he was saying. And I remember hearing about that, but we don't recognize that guy. And even if he was a part of Great Millstone, one person's actions does not determine the actions of the whole group. If somebody goes out there and does some stupid shit, that's on them. We teach over and over again that the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. In the book of 2 Corinthians 10, we teach that to be carnally minded is the enmity with the Most High. That's Romans the 8th chapter. The Lord said, wait upon me, because the Lord is the one that's going to give us our true reparations, our avengement. He's going to exact vengeance for us. So it's not up to us to do anything like that. So if anybody, even if they call themselves Great Millstone, happens to do that, that's on that individual, because they should know better. But the funny thing about it, he'll isolate like one or two incidences that happen or that may happen. But then the thousands upon thousands of shit that these Christians do, he never speaks about it, not once. How many pastors out there or members of churches murder their family, or kill somebody, out of rage or whatever the case is? How many pedophiles are there of the Christian church? So on and so forth. He never talks about that. So that shows you that he is an agent sent directly to come against the Israelites, the Hebrew Israelites, because if that was the case, if he was a man of justice, as he's trying to claim to be, he would, say, well, in the Christian church, this happens also, people murder their family. So does that mean that those people in the Christian church that murder their families, does that reflect on the whole Christian movement? Vocab? Think about it. Anyways, what I want to do in this, and so like I'm sipping my delicious chocolate coffee, inside joke. What I want to do is, there's something that he mentioned around, because I wasn't going to watch this. I don't usually watch Vocab stuff, but the Spirit said, nope, watch it. So I'm looking at this, 1 hour and 22 minutes, 36 seconds. So I turn it on and I start fast forwarding it or moving it. And all of a sudden it landed on the part where he was speaking about the Sakari and the GMS Phoenix camp, so on and so forth. So I let it ride. I heard all of that. You heard my take on it and the scriptures that we use. So it was just playing on, and then when it got to almost the 11-minute mark, he's gonna read from this thing here that he got, this book or whatever it is, and this is what the devil does. See, remember the scripture said that the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field. He'll tell you the truth, but then he'll say something else, and at that very instant, he'll deceive the people with the sleight of hand. When you're playing cards, the 3-card Monte or whatever the hell that shit's called, they have different names for it, and you're supposed to follow a particular card. There's certain things that the so-called magician does when he's, shuffling the cards around, to where you're thinking that he's shuffling them in one direction, but he's with the sleight of hand, he's moving a card one way, which you think was a top card, but it was really the another card, and then before you know it, by the time you get to pick out which one was the one that you thought was, it's not, because of that sleight of hand. This is what Vocab practices. Now listen to what he's saying here.
So that I can read it, someone reads it, it's just going to cut off. I'm getting irritated with that. Love, vengeance, and self-defense. The ethic of love is not unique to the New Testament. Jesus proclaims it by quoting Old Testament text. You see the text there. Even teaching that we should love our enemies appears in both testaments. Leviticus 19:18 proscribes bearing grudges, so its main concern is that we love neighbors with whom we have differences.
Now listen, here comes the spin. Watch, look at that shifty-eyed devil. And watch the spin, watch the spin.
Now we know how one Westerners try to eliminate this. They try to make only fellow Israelites their neighbors or something like that. We know that's not biblical, okay? So,
we know that's not biblical, okay? So this is Yahawashi speaking, right? Matthew 5:43. Ye have heard that it has been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, which he got this directly from the book of Leviticus, the 19th chapter. And you seen Vocab quoted it, but then he went with that. We know that the one Westers, the way they teach it, is that neighbors is only talking about the Israelites, and we know that's not biblical. Well, when we go to the origins of where Yahawashi quoted this from, Leviticus 19:17, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart, thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin upon him. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. So is what Vocab said correct, or is what the Bible says correct? Because he's saying that this is not biblical. That is not talking about the Israelites. And it's who's the children of thy people? Now we jump to the first verse. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, and say unto them, you shall be holy, for I, the Lord your power, am holy. So this is addressed specifically to the Israelites. So when you jump down and it says that, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart, who's your brother? Your Israelite brother. Because sometimes you have a falling out with brothers. It says, thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people. But thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. So this is talking about Israelites. And this is what Yahawashi was quoting. Now Yahawashi didn't have to say your Israelite brothers and sisters. Why? Because he already knew that this message was only to the Israelites. When we read Matthew, the 10th chapter and the 5th verse, it says, these 12 Yahawashi sent forth and commanded them, saying, go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritans enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Specific. And as you go, preach, saying, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Because this good news, this gospel, this doctrine, this teaching, this is all for the nation of Israel. For the whole nation of Israel. But in these times, only the elect are going to get it. But the rest of Israel will come back in the kingdom, being born as newborn babes, and they'll get it. They'll get it then. So you see how this big fat king snake, likes to spin stuff. Well, let's read. Let's not read. Let's hear this again. Let's hear what he said again.
Proscribes bearing grudges, so its main concern is that we love neighbors with whom we have differences. Now we know how one Westerners try to eliminate this. They try to make only.
You see how the shifty eye. You see his eyes shifting around. Let's go back.
Family or whatever. That they say Jesus is supposed to be based off of the images of it.
Oh, that's another thing. He talking about Caesar Borgia, and that's exactly who they mirrored the image of so-called Jesus with. I gotta go back, make sure we gonna get this.
Proscribes bearing grudges, so its main concern is that we love neighbors with whom we have differences. Now we know how one Westerners try to
see how his eyes were shifting.
Eliminate this. They try to make only fellow Israelites their neighbors or something like that. But we know that's not biblical. Okay.
It's not biblical. We just read it here in Leviticus 19:17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. How much plainer can it get? Then you read the second verse. Speak unto all the congregation of the children of Israel and say unto them, you shall be holy, for I, the Lord, your power, am holy. So how much more plainer does it have to get? Does the Most High have to come down himself and utter these words out of his own mouth, which he did here when Moses wrote these things down? But does he have to come down here physically and speak these words so that people can get it? It's right in the text. Who are the children of thy people? Who are the Israelites? See? So this, what Yahawashi was quoting, was directly from Leviticus, the 19th chapter, which is addressed specifically to the Israelites, which the whole Bible is addressed to the Israelites, period. Let me get the kryptonite of these wacky-tacky Christians. The ultimate venom, Venus flytrap. Psalms 147, 19 and 20. He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He have not dealt so with any nation, and as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord. All right, so praise Yahawah by Shem El Shaddai. He only showed this to the Israelites. Let's see what else this big fat head snake says.
So we're not going to be fooled by that trick.
But wait a minute, what? We're not going to be fooled by your trick, because you said that that's not biblical, that your neighbor is not your, the Israelites. And it says here clearly from where Yahawashi, who you call Jesus, quoted Leviticus 19:17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. Leviticus 19 and 2. Speak unto all the congregation of the children of Israel and say unto them, you shall be holy, for I, the Lord, your power, am holy. So this is addressed to the Israelites, vocab. Your replacement theology and your supersessionism, that's not going to work. Because we actually read, and we actually inspired through the spirit and power of Yahawah by Shem El Shaddai to read and to prove that you're the devil. So that shifty-eyed snake.
Because that's something they try to pull in Jesus' day as well. But
what?
Continue on here. Look at this. This is important.
All right, so that's as far as I got. I couldn't let that go by without saying something on it. I was putting a lesson together. A brother had asked a question about meats. Of the eating meats, because that's a new doctrine in Israel that you're not supposed to eat meat, going back to Genesis, the first chapter, so on and so forth. So I'm putting some precepts together. Lord's will I can go live a little bit later, once I get everything, together. Just a couple of precepts. If I would have had it ready, I would have just went into it right now just to get it out the way. But I just wanted to make mention of this. So really, vocab, really, the one Westers are saying that when it says love thy neighbor as thyself, or love your enemies, that's talking about everybody, and that the neighbors are not just the Israelites. Well, we just proved you wrong. 7 ways from Sunday, whatever that means. All right. So with that, I pray that your brothers have been edified, and Lord's will I come back a little later with another lesson. Shalom.